Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Metal Mayhem ROC. On tonight's new episode, we have rock royalty as we're joined by the head of Niji Management, Wendy Dio. Wendy is here to talk about two killer new Dio releases, so everybody put their metal horns up and say and welcome Wendy Dio. Wendy, welcome to Metal Mayhem ROC.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, this is a long time coming, and for me personally, I live in New Jersey on the East Coast, and as we all know, Ronnie and all of his bands, whether it be a Rainbow or Black Sabbath or Heaven and Hell or the Dio band, they had a very very big presence in the New York area. So I want to give you virtual hugs for keeping Ronnie's spirit alive, and he's been gone for 13 years, but it feels like it's still going on here. So. Absolutely.
Yeah, that was my job in life, is to keep Ronnie's memory and his music alive. And he's been gone, as I said, 13 years. We've still got 2.5 million kids on our Facebook, and I'm really happy about that. And we try to keep things going and new things happening and stuff for them to see and hear, and that's what we're doing.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about the two new releases coming up, but it's funny, Wendy. I went with my family on a summer vacation earlier in July to Chicago, and we visited the Field Museum. And they have this amazing exhibit about death. And it's not a scary thing. It's all about the rituals, from the spiritual to the beliefs to the physical side of it, and what all the cultures do. And there were all these prophetic slogans put up on the screens, and I took screenshots of them. When you go around with your cell phone and you take screenshots of things and you say, wow, I really love that statement, and I know it's going to apply somewhere at some point in time. And last night I brought these up, and I want to share them with you because I think of Ronnie with these. So the first one basically says, you only live once, but if you do it right, once is enough. And the other one says, how can the dead truly be dead when they still live in the souls of those who are left behind? Now, both of these, I can think about this from Ronnie, and I think they're both very true, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. As I said before, I think Ronnie was the ultimate being. He didn't need to come back and do anything anymore. He did such a lot of good things, and he was just a great, special person.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we got two great new products, and I think one of them was released today, correct? This was the Dio Studio Years box set.
Yep, absolutely. It's all in vinyl, colored vinyl. BMG did an amazing job on it. I'm so happy with it. And Ronnie, we were so glad that vinyl was back again, because he was always upset when cassette came out because you couldn't see anything. There was no beautiful artwork. It was just squashed up. And so he will be really, really glad that vinyl's taken off again. And I love it. And this is a beautiful box set. They've done a beautiful job of the last 4 albums that Ronnie did before he passed away.
So again, for our listeners, maybe you could just recap, like, which 4 albums are there in this box set?
You've got Angry Machines. You've got Lock Up the Walls. What else have we got in there? We've got
Is it Magica?
Magica, of course, Ronnie's wonderful thing. Magica, Ronnie was working on that. It was supposed to be 3 albums, but unfortunately he only did 1 and started on the second one. But that was so we got it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. We've got as I said, Angry Machines and Magica.
I think it's Killing the Dragon and Master of the Moon, correct?
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. Killing the Dragon and Master of the Moon. Yeah, not Lock Up the Walls. That's another one. Yeah, I mixed up. He did so many albums.
And Strange Highways, because as a big fan, I always categorize, let's call it, the second or third coming of the Dio band as everything from Strange Highways to the end. But Strange Highways is not part of this set, correct?
No, it's not. It's part of the Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers has 6 albums, and BMG has 4. In between all the other live stuff that we have and the other stuff that came out. But the actual studio albums, there are 4 that BMG has and 6 that Warner Rhino has.
And again, the so tell us about the box set. Is it CDs? Is it vinyl? Or is it both? Are there extras, great photos or any live tracks or anything? Like what makes this a collection that we should go out and buy?
Oh, I think everybody will be really, really happy with what's in that box set. There's a lot of surprises in there, and it's just they did a beautiful, beautiful job. I'm really pleased with it, and I hope the fans will love it.
And Wendy, I think back as a fan because again, I followed Ronnie through these years, and it's funny, and we'll talk about the Dreamers Never Die soon enough. But I didn't get a chance to see the Dio band based on my age till 1990, and that was on the Lock Up the Wolves tour. So for me, following through with that tour, Dehumanizer, and then eventually onto Strange Highways and Angry Machines and everything else later on, to me, this was a great part of, as a fan, his career because he was starting to play smaller venues, theaters, clubs. And I know in the documentary, it kind of portrays that this was a difficult time for music because it was the 90s. But I think for me personally, this was a great time for him. And you start with the album Magica. Now, to me, Magica was the return of Craig Goldie to the band. It was a concept album. There was a lot of buzz. I remember being at Irving Plaza in New York City, seeing the show, and Yngwie Malmsteen opened up. And it was just killer. Simon was back in the band. I mean, what was your memory of Magica back then?
Well, as I said, it was it was this hard time because we we hadn't we'd lost our record deal, then we got another record deal, and so it was a bittersweet time actually because as you said it was playing smaller venues, but it was closer to the audience, and as I said, Ronnie didn't care if it was 10 people or 10,000 people. He would give his all, and I think a lot of the fans really enjoyed being more close up to Ronnie and seeing him in a smaller venue.
Yeah, I agree too as well. And I know that when actually going back towards Strange Highways and the Angry Machines album, then I think there was a live album in between, but he would always play this club in New Jersey called the Birch Hill nightclub, and it was smaller. It was held maybe 600 people, but it was a great little club because you were up close. The buses were always out back. And, that Tracy G era, it had a sound of its own, and I really liked it. But, then you go ahead after Magic and you moved into, let's say, the Killing the Dragon. Doug Aldrich comes in. That was, let's say, another excitement. And I remember the Dio band getting out on the road, opening up for Iron Maiden in the Sheds that summer. And this was just another great time. So again, well done there. And again, I'll ask you, like, what did Doug bring to the band? You had Doug, you had Scott. These were guys that brought different elements into later in Ronnie's career, of course, right?
Yeah, Doug brought a lot to the band. I think he's a great player, and he has a great sound. And Ronnie really enjoyed working with Doug. In fact, Ronnie was working with Doug just before he passed away. After the Sabbath tour finished, Vinny had to go and have some operation, and so they were downtime for a bit. And he started writing some songs with Doug Aldrich, of which I have an unreleased song that will go out sometime. But it was an exciting time. Scott worked with him for a long time actually, and that was good. In fact, Ronnie took Scott in with him when they went into Black Sabbath and Heaven and Hell. Scott went with him as a keyboard player. No, that was great. And then Rudy was in there too, and that was a fun. I mean, Rudy's such a great player and just a great person, and so it was a really fun band that they all enjoyed each other and really loved each other.
Yeah, absolutely. It was funny. I was watching the documentary again last night to get reacquainted with it, and I love that part at the end where Rudy comes in and he says it's not like Ronnie's gone. He uses it in the present term. He says Ronnie is still here, and I thought that was such an interesting thing because that's what we all believe about him, despite his physical being not there. So, but that's great on the box set, and now we want to talk about the Dreamers Never Die. So this one gets released on the 29th of September, and it will be a DVD Blu-ray version. And as far as I'm reading up, there's also like an extended package, a big package. So What's going to make this one different? Is there extra footage, and what's in this, let's say, extreme set?
There is extra footage. There's a lot of bonus stuff in there. I think there's at least 3, maybe 4 bonus tracks of things, because it was shot and it could have gone on for 5 hours. But we had to cut a lot of stuff out, unfortunately. So that's back in there. And then the box set has all kinds of stuff in there. It has tissues, Dio tissues. It has placemats. It has guitar picks, patches, all kinds of different wristbands and stuff like that. It's a lot of stuff in there. It's great. It's got a lot of cool stuff. We wanted to make it special for the fans and give them special things. And I'm really, really pleased with it. It's coming out because originally Dio Dreamers Never Die came out on in theaters all over the world, but only for a couple of days. And then in America, you can see it on Showtime, but for the rest of the world couldn't see it at all after the theaters. So now the Blu-ray and the DVD will be out, and it'll be all over the world, so everybody gets a chance to see it. And I'm really, really pleased with it. I was so pleased with what the directors did. I wanted to include some things in there that maybe even the biggest fan didn't know about Ronnie, and I think we pulled a few jewels out that they didn't know about.
Oh my God. I wrote a couple notes down of comments that I could say, and then maybe you could talk a little bit about what some of the new footage is going to be like. But for me, I'm a Dio fan. I kind of know his whole story from the beginning to the end. But you know what? There were moments, Wendy, where it just, I got goosebumps, and I'll tell you some of them. When you unearthed the trumpet, when you opened the trumpet case, that was one of them. And the other one was when you took out his white robe that he would wear on stage during the Heaven and Hell tour. Wendy, I got goosebumps. I'm not going to lie. Amazing to see the artifacts around the house, and how you were saying in the pool. I think it was where the pool table may have been, or whatever, you turned it into a living room. But I really felt like I stepped into your home, and that was a beautiful thing. So those are a couple of the things that I loved, especially. And then the other pieces were, I mean, it was well documented, but like, I thought it was funny, the Holy Diver story where the guy went out and put the chains on, and he put the priest thing on, and he almost, fell into the water and that kind of thing. So there were definitely some moments there that I said, wow, I might think I know the whole story, but here's some extra stuff for the super fan like me.
That's right. That's what we wanted to put in there, or some very different things that nobody knew about. And that's what I wanted people to feel like they were in our home, and walking around in our home and enjoying it.
And what about like the early footage? Like, I always get I think as any person loves to see of an artist or an athlete, you go back and you say, wow, look at these pictures of this person as a little boy or a kid. Or I love Ronnie's grandmother. And of course, I'm an Italian-American guy. So it's funny. My father's 86. But when I always told him about Dio with the horns, the first thing he says, oh yeah, he says, my grandmother used to do it. It's called the Maloik. So my father knew all about it. But just to hear those recordings in vinyl, just amazing, amazing stuff. Very much appreciated it.
It was a bittersweet journey. I had been approached by so many different people to do a documentary on Ronnie, but it was never the right time. It was never the right people. And then suddenly I met Don and Demian, and they were big fans of Ronnie's, and they had done a lot of other stuff. They did Imagine Dragons, and they did an Alec Baldwin thing. And in the beginning, I gave them some stuff because I'm very protective of things. And then as I got to know them, I gave them more and more and more stuff. And then I just gave them the whole thing to dig in. And of course, they dug in and put things in that I didn't even know about, me on the beach and things like that. I was like, whoa. I think they did a really good job of digging in and finding gems that they found in there. And of course, Ronnie's mom had kept a lot of stuff, so I had a lot of things from the early stuff that Ronnie's mom had kept from like Elf and the doo-wop days and things. And then also Ronnie's cousin David Rock Feinstein, who was in Elf, had given us some footage and things. So it was a lot of work and a lot of fun and a lot of bittersweetness. And some of the times I took photos and I would cry because I remember the times that we were together. But it took a long time because COVID was right in the middle. So a lot of the things, they couldn't go over to England to interview Tony. They had to wait until it was they could travel again. So but giving us extra time, I think, gave us more time to dig in to get more things that were important.
I was going to say that. How just when did that project and how long did it take to unearth all of this stuff? I mean, like you said, you had stuff around your places and Ronnie's mom. I think about those scrapbooks that come out. Like those must be amazing. I would love, and I know I heard that there could be a Dio museum coming at some point in time. But man, I would love to get my hands on a virtual copy of those scrapbooks.
Yeah, we those were all his mom. His mom had kept scrapbooks from day one, and that was really, really cool. And I have a lot of things. I'm hoping to do a museum sometime, and I've like Ronnie's. I have Ronnie's little teddy bear that he had, and his horse, and I have his little crystal shoes and all those stuff. All those little things that his mom had kept, and that was going down the road of I didn't even know.
I'm sure. Speaking about his cousin Dave, the Rock Feinstein, I was able to catch the Rods a few months back in May up in Poughkeepsie at a theater called the Chant. And I didn't get a chance to actually meet him. I wanted to, but his drummer, Carl Kennedy, was there. And the great part about Dave is he kind of looks a little bit like Ronnie. He's a smaller guy, and you could tell their bloodline. But what was great was Dave was up there in his leather outfit, his jacket and his pants, but right over his left lapel was his Dio pin. And he always kept going to this. You could see that his cousin Spirit was with him even, 10, 13 years later.
Oh yeah, and I gave him the ring that Ronnie wore all the time. I gave him when Ronnie passed. I gave that to Rock, which he treasures. I don't know if he wears it all the time. He's afraid he might lose it, but I gave him Ronnie's ring.
Yeah, that's really, really touching us. Thank you for sharing that. So what will make up, let's say, this extra footage? Like how much extra footage in terms of time, and give us a few teasers on what some of this stuff could be.
I think there's some stuff that Simon Wright, they interviewed him and a bunch of stuff he said that got cut out. So that's in there with Wyn Davis, his engineer. He talks about the recording in there. And there's a lot of other stuff that they found that they're going to put in there. I'm not quite sure what they found, but they found a bunch of other stuff that was in there. I'm really happy with it. So you get the full documentary plus all the bonus stuff with them talking and things that didn't make. Unfortunately, it was so long they didn't make it, and there were things that were in there that they had to cut out, so they put them in the bonus material, which I'm very happy with.
That's great too, because for an old school guy like me, I'm 53. I still buy product. I buy CDs. I buy DVDs. I like to hold them in my hands and put them in the machine. So I can't wait to get out there on Amazon next week and get that one delivered to the house and watch it. So, but before we talk about some other things, I think there was a couple other really moments that I appreciated in the DVD. One was at the beginning when you went into the Rainbow Bar and Grill and you actually sat at the table that you were introduced to Ronnie with. That was really, really touching. And then, of course, towards the end of his life, the hospital footage, but seeing how strong he was and you sitting with him and just seeing that fight that he was putting up and how he went to the Golden Globes or whatever that metal show was. And he really wanted it there. I'm not going to lie. I finished out the movie again last night, and Eddie Trunk is a guy from my neck of the woods. And I saw the tear come to his eye. And then as the show ends, the movie ends, and you play the song off Angry Machines, This Is Your Life, it's hard not to get choked up hearing that one.
Yeah, that's a beautiful song, actually. It's one of my favorite songs, actually, and those were moments in there that were very, very bittersweet. Yeah. I remember because we never thought that Ronnie or I thought he was going to pass. We thought we were going to, beat this dreadful disease. And we used to go to Houston every 2 weeks for his chemo. He had 6 hours of chemo every 2 weeks, and And we would always skip down the hall saying, we're killing the dragon, we're killing the dragon. We called the cancer the dragon. And, you know, he went through so much stuff back. And then all of a sudden it seemed like we were winning. And, you know, we went to Golden Globes and 3 weeks before he passed away. And then all of a sudden it just came, and it was just, he was, you know, we had that dreadful weekend where he was passing. But all his friends were there. It was like 30 to 50 people all the time there. And and although he was in kind of a coma before he passed away, I knew he could hear us. And he waited for everybody to go. And then it was just him and me, and he passed away.
Yeah, it was. I remember it well myself. It was on a Sunday. I remember getting a call from my friend in the supermarket in the afternoon, and Eddie Trunk had done a special the next day, and I was glued to the radio. And Wendy, I could tell you this: it hit me so hard, like a family member, that when the tribute show happened over in London at the High Voltage Festival, where Glenn Hughes and Jorn Lande jumped in, I looked at my wife. I said, I got to be there. And I literally got on a plane. I used all my frequent flyer miles I had banked up in United Airlines and went over there. Now, granted, it was a great festival because there were some awesome bands over there for the weekend, but I really went there because I felt like I had to be there. I mean, number one, Glenn is an amazing performer, and I wanted to hear him sing those Sabbath songs, but I felt like this was my responsibility as a fan of Ronnie to be there and carry that forward. And I hope that he saw me up in the big sky, that one of his greatest fans from Jersey was there for him.
Ronnie and Glenn were really, really tight friends. They were really good friends. They were always over our house. We were over their house, and you know, they always, like, Glenn would say, "Hey, listen to this song, and they would, you know, they were just really tight, good friends. And Glenn introduced Ronnie to Indian food, because Ronnie's like, I don't know, he's very fussy about what he ate, and then he loved it. He couldn't get enough of Indian food.
Yeah, it's funny because it was funny to hear Ronnie in the documentary when somebody said, well, maybe you should think about retiring or scaling it down. He says, yeah, well, what am I going to do? Sit on a beach, go on vacations? You know, there's no time for eating. There's no time for eating. But I know he liked his beers, and I know that he liked to smoke a little bit, but he had fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. On his off time, he was just a homebody. You know, as I said, when he was on stage, he had, you know, the nice stage clothes and interview clothes, but at home he liked to go to Walmart and buy his sweats and just sit around the house in his sweats and drink his beer and watch sport.
And I heard he was a big New York sports fan, right? The Yankees and the Giants.
Oh, yeah. Yes, exactly, absolutely. I think the Mets asked him to sing the national anthem once. He said, "Mets, not a chance in hell."
That's an amazing story. Was he a hockey fan? Did you know, Wendy, if he was a hockey fan?
He was a fan. But, I'll tell you a funny story. It's all about hockey fan. So I found this old jersey. It was way too big for Ronnie. It was kind of torn up and everything and scribbled on it. So I chucked it out. It was Wayne Gretzky's own jersey that he'd given to Ronnie. I didn't know. I got a lot of trouble for that.
Wow. Wow, that's a great story, though. But yeah, you could tell he was a colorful guy. I only had one brush-in with him when Eddie Trunk had his one of his celebrations for 1 year of his career. I don't remember what it was, but it was the year they were on the Metal Masters tour. I think it was 2008, without Judas Priest, and they did a little private event in the Hard Rock Cafe in New York City, and I was able to get on the guest list. And man, it was crazy busy there, but I was able to go sneak behind the little the ropes. And I said, I need to meet one of my heroes. And I just went up to Ron, and there was 1 million people there. And I just shook his hand, and I thanked him. And I said, thank you for everything you've done for us and for me. And he just looked me in the eye, and he winked at me like this. And he said, thank you, son. And that was it. It was just it was a touching moment. Not a lot of words were exchanged, but it was genuine.
Oh, absolutely. He was so special. He loved his fans. He loved people. He loved all people, and loved to know what they had to say rather than what he had to say. He had just that special way of knowing people. He had an incredible memory. He would always remember people's names and their kids' names. And it was just, he was just a special person. He loved people. He loved his fans. It was all genuine. It wasn't fake. He just loved his fans, and they loved him back.
Yeah, that's why, you know what, we may not be able to see him in concert anymore, but you're never going to lose those memories of those experiences. So, Wendy, what's coming up after this? I mean, you mentioned there's, let's say, an unreleased track that was written with Doug. anything else coming in the pipeline down the line?
Well, we've got our charity bowl for Ronnie coming up November 16th at Pins in Studio City. That'll be fun. With Eddie Trunk, of course, is always there for us.
Okay.
That's a real fun time with making money for the Cancer Fund, which we're working with Dr. Wong at UCLA. That's really what we've got going on next year. I think Warner Brothers Rhino is bringing out Last in Line. They did last year Holy Diver with Joe Parisi remixing it, bringing it a bit modern sound. And so next year they'll do Last in Line with a special box set, and we'll have it a remix. I don't know who's going to remix it yet. We haven't talked about it, but somebody will. So with those things are coming up. We've got a lot of stuff in the pipeline coming up, the unreleased track, which we'll work on and come out someday with some other special stuff that we're finding in the vault.
That's great. How about on the Heaven and Hell front? I mean, I was at the Radio City show, the DVD myself, and I saw all those tours, of course. And anything out there on the Heaven and Hell front that maybe fans should know about?
We're working on bringing out some stuff with them, with Live Evil is coming out. And we're working on that right now. And I keep in touch with, obviously, with Gloria and Geezer Butler and Tony and Vinny, of course. I mean, we're just, we're good friends and we don't see each other that often, but we still keep in touch with everybody. So we're working on different things with that. We'll find some things to bring out on the Saps. That's great.
And how about the Dio Disciples? I mean, that was another part of my path forward after Ronnie left us. They were playing around a lot. I thought that was awesome when you had Tim Ripper Owens and a few of the other singers. But I haven't seen them out there. Are they? Is it still a band?
No. Yes, they are. We're working on coming out for next year. We're working on some stuff. We're not doing hologram again. We're going to do we're finding lots of footage of Ronnie in the Rainbow and Elf and Sabbath and Dio area, and it'll be big video screens with Ronnie in there and the band playing, and we're working on some special effects, and that'll go out next year. Ripper's been working with KK right now, so he's gone. But only Logan will be there, and hopefully Ripper or somebody. We'll get it happening, and we'll have a good show. And that's another thing of keeping Ronnie's memory alive. And that's those guys love Ronnie so much, and we want to keep that music out there. But there's a lot of young new bands playing Ronnie music. I'm very happy about that. There's a lot of tribute bands out there. Yep. I'm real pleased about that, and because they all do it for the love of Ronnie, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy that the young kids get a chance to listen to the music. I think this is the first time ever that the kids listen to their parents' music.
That's right. Well, Wendy, this was a great conversation. It made me just go back in time, and I can't wait to crank some Dio later, some Sabbath. So thank you so much for your time. Again, the Dio Studio Years, the box set 1996 to 2004 is out today, and the Dreamers Never Die DVD deluxe set is out next Friday. So, Wendy, thank you. And before we go, I want you to do something for me. One time. Dio. Come on, let's hear it.
Dio.
I love it. Wendy, thank you so much. And best of luck, and we'll see you down the line, okay?
Thank you, and thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Metal for Life.
Thank you for listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Check out our website at metalmayhemroc.com for information on podcasts, archives, links to all our live radio shows, and all sorts of info. Please like, follow, and share with everyone, even your non-metal friends. And always remember to keep it heavy.